Moonlight filtered down through the dark canopy of trees into the small clearing below. Surrounding the clearing was tall and foreboding trees. The blackness seemed to fill up the cracks between the trees like a thick mist. Slowly, the darkness began to creep into the clearing, spilling over the floor and blocking out the moonlight from above. The smell of putrid, rotting flesh and a metallic odor like rusted iron filled the clearing. There was a small shuffling noise, almost beyond the hearing of humans, from the depths of the complete darkness beyond the trees. Thump, thump, thump. The shuffling stopped, and just inside the clearing, illuminated by the fading moonlight, just enough to see, was a hulking figure. The creature was only identifiable as female by the slight curve at its breast and the broader pelvis. It was tall, well over 6 feet, and impossibly thin. Its ribs were grotesquely prominent in its skeleton-like frame. It was completely naked, with pale, chalk-white skin and dark, coarse fur. The skin on its arms and legs was covered in burns and bloody patches of tangled fur. Its head was that of a deer, but it was like all the skin had been burned off only to leave an ashen skull. The skull itself was chipped, and small pieces of it on one side were missing. The creature had no eyes. Instead, 2 empty sockets filled with a dark, empty mass. The same darkness that engulfed the clearing, withering as though it were alive. The mouth had a row of very sharp, canine-like teeth. A long, dark tongue briefly flicked out from behind the teeth to taste the air before it disappeared back inside. Attached to the skull were 2 towering antlers that ended at wicked points. Something red and wet spilled down one of the antlers and onto the forest floor, now obscured by utter darkness. Long, inky black hair spilled down past the creature's shoulders, tangling through the antlers and hanging down over the skull and the chest. The creature stood on 2 legs, despite its back legs ending in hooves and resembling the back legs of a deer or horse. What would look normal on a 4-legged animal just looked twisted and broken. Its arms and torso resembled a human's, yet eerily elongated and unnaturally thin. Its long arms ended in spidery-like fingers, arched and thin and ending in sharp-looking points. The whole time the creature had been frozen, except for the moment where it seemed to taste or sniff the air. Then it turned its head to the center of the clearing, to the only light that was still left. A flashlight held in a trembling hand.
Okay, wait, hold up, Cheyenne. Why are you telling me this crazy little shitty monster? I mean, I thought we were going to have a chill and fun podcast.
It's Halloween, bro.
It was Halloween like 2 weeks
Mm,
ago.
Belatedly celebrating Halloween month. Best time of year.
Yay! It's Christmas now, actually. It's Christmas time.
Uh, Slightly less than Halloween in my eyes, to be honest.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyways, I should introduce myself first. I'm Mandy,
And I'm Cheyenne.
and we are the Unoriginals. You should tell us more about what just happened, actually. You're the one that caused all the chaotic scene right over there.
uh, Caused so much chaos. Everything's different. Everything's weird because of me.
Yep.
Um, I don't think a lot of people know this, but me and you both have our own individual channels on YouTube.
Yep.
Uh,
That I don't
I don't know.
upload much.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned it in another podcast either, but we're also a writer and an artist. I have a writing channel where I give out writing advice, rants about my own opinions. I do the book review thing once in a while, and I also try to experiment with actually like trying at writing activities on YouTube, which YouTube's not exactly the
It's not really
best
writer
platform for
friendly.
it. Yeah, YouTube might not be the best platform for it. Like writing isn't the most visual medium, but I'm just
Oh,
trying new
excuse me.
things there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have your own channel.
Yeah, I have a art channel and like a gaming channel, but I haven't been uploading much. And I have only have 2 videos on my art channel actually. So far I'm doing speed painting and tutorial because there's only
Uh,
2 videos.
your one video has a pretty decent amount of views though,
Like to me
more
it
than
is
what I
pretty good.
get.
To me it's pretty
Yeah,
good already. I'm happy. But yeah, it's nothing like it's not even like a 200 views, but it's 100. So it's okay. I'm
it's
happy.
impressive to me. It's more than what I get.
It's hard though. I think like no matter what tutorials are the one that get the most views because people want to improve, right?
Yeah, makes sense. But we both decided that we really wanted to do a collaboration together because we always,
We've talked about
um,
it for like quite a quite a while and I never
yeah,
actually do anything.
we do this podcast, so I think we always kind of knew we were gonna do something
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, so
Um,
this year, this Halloween, you suggested that maybe we should do a monster collaboration. So you created that little shit over there. And
that little
that
shit.
little shit, that little bastard that made me do tons of research based on that.
Oh, really? You had to do a lot of research?
Yeah, because I never, like, don't draw shit like that.
Okay, well, before we get too into it,
Uh,
we should continue the explanation. So yeah, like I've had profs who have basically said that a writer and an artist make one of the best teams, and I
yay.
happen to agree. So I think that you and I make one of the best teams.
Yay, salt and
S-
pepper. Fish and
And
chips.
obviously one of the most, I mean, like character creation, if you're gonna collab with a writer and an artist, that just makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of
and
sense.
and it was Halloween, so we decided to do, like you said, character creation, character monster creation. So what I did is we'll link my video down below and
Yep.
your whatever you put up down below too. In my video, I did a brainstorming session and I basically created the characteristics and the bare bones of a monster. I wrote a description about it and then I sent that to you.
And then I got it. I read the description and the story, and then I did some research on stuff that, well, I don't know about most like other artsy people, but for to me, it's kind of like when I read something, I have something in mind. Like for example, the scene or the character. It's usually just the scene though, because I don't tend to imagine what a character looks like. But then for a monster, it's easier to picture what it looks like because it's really descriptive and it's not like, oh, it's a pretty girl or like a pretty dude that I don't really know what they kind of look like. But for your monster, I didn't read the description first. I read the story, like the description story that Cheyenne just talked about in the beginning. I read that and I kind of have something in mind already of what it looks like. So I did a really quick draft and then I wrote down what I think I didn't do good and I need research. I need to look into reference photos. So I did some reference photo studying the skull, the antlers, and then the reverse joints. I did stuff like that. And then I just started drawing it. I think we're gonna post a picture or something like on the screen. So if you don't have time, don't look at it. But if you have time, you can just check it out. And it's probably on the screen right now. So I'll put it up for like
Yeah.
2 seconds or so.
But yeah, it was a really fun collaboration. I think I really went into like detailed descriptions, like I went through
Yeah.
everything, so it was probably like
It's
fairly
quite
easy for you
easy
to write it.
to yeah, it's quite easy to imagine what it looks like. But I don't know whether what I imagine is what you imagined. Because we didn't really tell each other. You didn't give me any reference photos or anything, and I just show you progress of my studies, but not really the actual monster that I was gonna draw. So we don't know what each other has in mind for like until we actually got the result.
Yeah, it was very purposeful that I decided not to give you references. Just gave you what I wrote and that's it, and I had to send you on the way. In a way, I think that was really part of the challenge because it tests both of our skills as a writer and as an artist. One of the most important things as a writer is the ability to write detailed descriptions and to have people be
And read
able
and
to,
understand and visualize what you have in your mind.
yeah, so that people can get a good picture of whatever you're doing, like whether it's a character creation or the environment or whatever.
But was my drawing actually close to what you imagined though?
Oh yeah, it was really close.
Really?
Yeah, it was totally close.
Okay,
Um,
good.
I I think that there were some things that were different. I think there were some things that you chose not to include, right?
Yeah, like there are something that I found it's kind of difficult to get it right. Because I remember you have the monster having really pale skin, right? And then I think it says it has black fur or something. So when I was doing that, I was like, oh, how do I draw it with having pale skin, but then there's also furs on top of the pale skin, but then still show that it has pale skin. That is the part that I was really like, oh, what should I do? And then I don't know how to draw burned skin or soap. That is like the part that I purposely like ignored a bit. I did
Yeah.
try to make it looks like it's like fur, that it's kind of like, you know how when your skin it's like you tear apart it and stuff, and there is bodily fluid that coming out, so it will make the fur kind of stuck together and it's kind of like wet in some way. So that's the part that I was trying to do with the fur, but I don't know if it's actually successful, but the audience can judge. They can look at it and see if it looks like it.
Yeah, even when writing that, I was like, how will she do that? And then I was like, oh, not my problem.
God. Because I do understand animals when you like shave them, it shows their skin. Their skin has different colors. So I know what you're going for, but I'm like, I don't know how to actually draw that out.
In a way, some of that stuff was like very individualistic to like the specific monster. The way that I framed it was that the monster was almost like of a species, but this was like a very specific one. So the burn marks and like the cracks in its skull were not necessarily like exclusive to the species, but it was like exclusive to her. When I decided to do that, I really wanted to make it so that some things were unique just to her, and not like that were like outside of like her species. Everything else was kind of the species and what it looks like. Like she's a typical female of that species, but those were like unique features.
I mean, at least I got the general looks of it, right? Hopefully.
Really, even when you get down to it, what we kind of discovered from this challenge is that even though I think, and you'd probably agree, that I wrote a very detailed description, and people can judge for themselves, but I think it's a pretty good description.
Yeah,
Um, there's still a lot of room for artist interpretation from that.
it does. So, for example, you said there's long straight black hair, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what you said. And the first thing that pops out in my mind, it's the one that from Full Metal Alchemist. I don't remember her name, but the dog. with the
Oh,
hair.
Nina.
Nina.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's probably like a good visual for it. It matches pretty well, I
Yeah.
think.
So like the first thing that pops out is oh, yeah, I think I know what you
Yeah.
want. But
I
then
pictured it like all tangled in like the antlers too. And
the one that I draw is not exactly the hair is not as smooth as Nina from Fullmetal Alchemist, but it's a bit messy and as I tried to make it a bit wet and oily, but it's my first time doing hair like that, so it might not look like I was going for that, but I tried. It's kind of like a collaboration and a practice for me and probably for you too, because you might not do a lot of monster creation. It's a
yeah,
fun one.
I do a lot of character creation. I don't think I've ever tried to make a monster before.
No, monster is kind of difficult because for a person, for a like a human character, you see them every day. You see humans every day, so you can, where your inspiration can comes from is maybe, oh, this part looks like my neighbor, and that part I might take it and exaggerate it from my brother, kind of like that. But then for a monster, it's really difficult. You have to have a lot of visual
Yeah.
libraries for that.
I figure it's probably just gonna happen where you like get inspiration from other monsters and other horror movies that exist, and I think I suggested this in my video too. Maybe putting different animals together or like
Yeah,
to create a monster because I did say spidery fingers, so I put like spiders, and then I had a deer skull, and then it was like very humanoid in different areas. So I went with the whole putting different things together to make it strange. So it's like taking familiar things and making them like strange and scary
yeah.
looking.
I think what's the scariest thing is something that unfamiliar, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, I never watched that show, but then I saw pictures of Stranger Things. And then their monster is really like it's not Earth-like at all. It's really unfamiliar and scary. So that's where they got maybe that's where they got some of their inspiration is that oh, I need something that no one will see in real life and not even an animal or combining spiders together like that. But your way, it's making something familiar and turn it into something unfamiliar. So it gives like a
Exactly.
weird feeling. It's like, oh, it looks like a deer, but I don't know what the fuck is that. Kind of
It goes
that
into
way.
like the uncanny valley
Yeah.
situation.
It's like, it's kind of strange and weird. And I like how you have the, it's really skinny and then she got antlers and the bones showing. It's kind of, humans are kind of afraid of sharp things because instinctively it's something that will hurt you. So you're kind of afraid of knife and sharp teeth and that, and then you put in teeth and antlers and bone showing is bony. Rounder shape it's more kind and more friendly than a
Yeah,
triangular shape.
I think that's a thing where people often, like when they're creating something scary, they go for more angular lines where like
Yeah.
not 100% that this is not saying that this is 100% true all the time, but I think that's a general trend. Angular lines versus round lines.
Rounder
I
shapes.
think that's a kind, yeah, I think that's like a kind of common technique that people use.
Yeah.
Um,
Because in the wild, it's kind of like evolutionary. In the wild, the rounder stuff, it's actually more friendly in a way. Like flowers, they're rounder in shape. But then sharp teeth and fines, like they're sharp. So maybe that's how we got like, that's why we're scared of sharp things and straight lines rather than curvy lines.
so, I think we both were really successful in this challenge. I think I managed to create monster and effectively describe it to you in a way, and I think you were really effective at following my descriptions and drawing that monster. How well do you think we were at creating a monster that's actually scary?
I don't know. It's kind of difficult to judge, right? Everyone's scared of stuff that's like different. I do think it looks scary, but then in my way that I draw it, it might not look scary on my drawing because it's just like a character standing there not doing anything particularly scary. But then when I was reading the description, it's actually pretty damn scary. Because I put myself in that situation. Like, what if you're the one that holding the fucking flashlight, and then you're like, oh shit, what? Like, you thought, oh, maybe it's a woman, and then like, oh no, I looked at the legs, maybe it's like a deer, and then you go up. It's like, what the fuck is that?
I think if I ran into it in real life, I would be like shitting my pants. I even think if it was like in a comic book or a show, it has like the potential to be a really scary
Yeah,
monster. I didn't go for like the overly gory, grossed out, disgusting look either. You could make a case with the burns, but in my head, I was thinking that was like less prominent. Probably gross looking, but more of a signal that
yeah,
it has been in like fights,
yeah.
and that's one of the
That's
ways
what I
that
was
you kill it
thinking.
by burning. So it's less supposed to be like gross looking and scary in the really gory sense and more like
It's more just like a
unsettling.
signature.
Yeah, so I went with the really unsettling, creepy, like mysterious
Like
route than
something's
the
wrong.
than the in your face scariness.
To me, it's kind of difficult to judge whether a character is scary. Because I think I don't know what's like sometimes in a scenario in a scene they can look just like a human, but then I'd think that oh this character is very creepy and scary. Depends on what they're doing during the scene and how the scene's spewed up. So just a character, it's so like to me it's so hard to judge whether it looks scary or not.
Yeah, character creation is kind of only the first step. And then you go into like whether you're writing a book or a show or whatever, you go into other things that adds to the scary factor, which is everything from the creepy music to the
So
sound
like
effects,
editing, the uncanny looks. Because
creepy mannerisms.
imagine that creepy creature that you created. Imagine looking at that and then it was holding a beer and then drinking and then saying, "What's up?" Is it scary? It's not scary. It's funny. Kind of depends on what it does. But then if it's like, oh, looking at you and in a creepy way and then the heads turn 360, then oh my god, it's scary.
Can you please draw that?
Like drinking beer
Please?
and like, "What's up?"
Yeah, I really want to see that so bad now.
Yeah, maybe I'll do it and put it right on the screen when I said that. But
Oh, that would be so funny.
but yeah, like imagine having a show or like a cartoon. It's having all the scary, supposedly scary characters, but they're doing like normal day-to-day stuff. Imagine, I don't really know a lot of scary movie. For example, is that one some dude's named Freddy?
Freddy,
Is
yeah.
it Freddy? Is that the one that with
Freddy Krueger.
yeah, I think that's him. Like the one has like a weird scars on his face. Is that him?
And he has the claw.
Yeah. So imagine him like putting on a suit and going to work every day and working and he's like, "Oh my god, so much work." It's not scary anymore. So it really depends. To me, it really depends on the interaction and what the character actually does. Then, oh, the character looks scary. But I think you
Yeah,
did a
I
good job
think,
making it looks a bit creepy though.
yeah, it's definitely a good, for what we were doing with it, it was good character creation, I think.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I think we succeeded in what we were trying to do. We were successful in the challenge.
Yeah. And it's our first time creating monsters. Like it's first time for you to write it and for me to actually draw weird creepy stuff. I just always stick with drawing humans. It's good
Uh,
practice and good challenge with good
yeah,
outcome
I'd like to see more writer artist collabs on YouTube.
on YouTube.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
I don't
yeah. It
always
might
see
be
that.
difficult, but I might be like, I hope it becomes a thing.
They should start doing it. It's actually really good for artists that don't always come out of their comfort zone like me. I always just draw the same thing over and over, but in a collaboration, when you create a different character or a different scene, if you're writing about a fighting scene, I'm not gonna draw two people just standing side by side. They're taking passport pictures, but I would draw like a fighting scene that like I never actually did. So it's good practice.
You mentioned more than once, I think, about how I was like forcing you to draw certain things that you wouldn't have otherwise, or you ne
Yeah,
didn't necessarily even want to draw. You didn't want to look up spiders
spiders. I
and have to draw.
It's so disgusting. I hated it. But I looked it up and then their legs, now I know how their joints work. It looks like crabs. Literally looks like crabs. But you have to force yourself to get that visual library because you only know what a spider kind of looks like. But if I ask anyone to draw like, hey, draw a spider, you won't be able to know how to do it unless you go check it out. But who would want to check out what a spider actually looks like? But like, if the artists weren't even interested in the first place, though the writer kind of push you in some way with the collaborations. But I don't know have I ever actually inspired you to write something from my drawings or forced you to do something.
Maybe that should be our next collaboration.
Like I draw something and then you have to
It,
write a scene about it, write
it's
a
my turn
story.
to be on the other end.
God, I'm not good with writing like drawing scenery.
Just
It's weird. I'm not that creative. People think that, oh, if you draw, then you're supposed to be creative. I think I'm creative, but not in the drawing way. Like, I visualize what it looks like, and I think, oh, it's an interesting concept and story, but I couldn't implement it.
so that's an interesting thing to talk about. I feel like not every writer or not every artist is like that, but there's probably definitely artists who feel the same. There's probably artists who would really like not like that type of thing, if you know what I mean. Like they want like freedom and not to be like not to have someone like stifle their creativity. They want freedom to be able to do whatever
Oh,
you want.
yeah.
But then like you, I would imagine there's plenty of artists too that struggle with coming up with stuff and inspiration. And if you can find a writer who can basically, I guess, I don't want to say tell you what to draw, but I guess that's basically what it is.
It's kind of like
Telling you what to draw.
giving you an inspirations only. We did, well, it's not really like a full-on collaboration. Cheyenne just sometimes write short stories or scenes, and then I'll end up like drawing a character or drawing just something. I draw a scene or something, but then you never actually tell me like, oh, draw this part exactly like this. You still get plenty of freedom when you're an artist and collaborating with a writer. Because you look at a short story, like for example, if I give you the first thing that pops into my mind is Romeo and Juliet. If I give you Romeo and Juliet to draw, there's plenty of stuff to choose from. You don't have to do like the whole I would die, they all drink the poison scene. You can do the fighting scene. You can do at first in the like masquerade, they're kind of having fun and dancing. You can draw so many different stuff. It's not even like you're forcing me to draw something. It's kind of just giving you a general guidelines. I think it might be the same for writers too. If I just say, "Oh, write anything," it's kind of difficult to like, oh, what should I do? But if I said like, oh, can you write something about, it can just be really general, like can you write something about aliens? It can be anything. At least you
It's
got like a target.
something to jump off of. It's
Yeah.
something on your page other than just a white blank page.
Yeah, it's something to kickstart you with just like a brainstorming sessions. Like, oh, you can start with aliens and then you kind of going out. I think it's a
Yeah,
good
I'm
way.
a huge advocate of this might sound strange to a lot of writers, but I'm a huge advocate of actually putting restrictions on yourself and giving yourself limitations and how that doesn't actually stifle creativity, but it
I think it enhances creativity even.
yeah, it almost sparks it in a way. What are prompts? Basically what you said, then kind of like setting restrictions on yourself. Some of my most creative stuff has come from when I've set restrictions on my writing, when I give myself, okay, I have to write about this, but I can't do this. It has to be in first person or whatever. It can really like do the exact same things that it can do for you as an artist.
Yeah,
Just like
totally.
giving you something to work with, and it also forces you to step out of your comfort zone a lot of the times and write about things that you never would have written about before. That's usually some of your best stuff.
Yeah, one thing that I found really, really extremely challenging is step out from your comfort zone. It's so difficult. I rarely do that. But when I do, for example, for the monster challenge, it's a good feeling, right? You tackle something like or never draw fur. I don't think I've ever actually draw fur, and I never draw deer skull. I don't even know what it looks like until now. Like stepping out of your comfort zone. One of the main pros from collaborating. It's that it's the other person because they can create whatever they want and you can draw whatever you want too. So in a way, it's like you can't say, "Hey, Cheyenne, I we want to do a collaboration, but we're not going." You can't write about you can't write about monsters because I never draw monsters. You can't write about pets because I never draw pets. And you can't
You're,
write about mechs because I never draw mechs. Like, that's
yeah.
kind of stupid, right?
Yeah, that's like the whole point of a challenge
Yeah,
is
like,
it being a challenge. And yeah, you can't just say no. Yeah,
yeah, if
you
you
have
just say
to
no
work
to
with what
anything,
you're given.
have to be a yes man for for the whole challenge. So that's kind of forcing you out of the comfort zone.
And that's only a good thing to improve your skills, both as an artist and as a writer. It's just all about developing what you can do creatively and practicing everything else.
It's a good way to improve or build upon your friendship, like build your friendship too. Like, can you stay
Yeah,
through
that's
after
what I
this
said.
original character? Like,
I think that artists too in this relationship can really help writers on the flip side of that too. Because I think sometimes, not so much in the case of this, because it was very like heavily me creating a character down to every single detail that I could think of
yep.
with its appearance. But I think I'm fairly good. I really like creating characters, but I think that for the most part, I think about their personality and their background over their appearance usually.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, I'll bring it up, I guess, the fact that I've been writing a novel for a really long time, and recently you've been drawing a lot of the characters, and it's a superhero novel. I don't know if that's that important to say, but it really helps to have a writer read your descriptions and draw the characters, because in that case, their appearances weren't as fleshed out as my character or my monster in this one. I don't always know exactly what they look like other than just very vague descriptions. And even if I'm like, it doesn't give you as much to work with, I can like talk with you and like try to figure out what they do actually look like, and that helps get over a bump in my writing where I'm talking about these characters and I'm positioning them in the story, but I don't know what they look like and I don't know what I'm working with all the time. It really helps to like visually see them.
Yeah. I remember asking you about what does she look like? What does the main character look like? And you're like, "Oh, actually, like she is the least fleshed out character. Like I don't know what she actually looks like." But I do remember drawing something and you would like I think you have a really vague image in your mind that you know what she doesn't look like, but not what she actually looks
Yeah.
like. Because I remember drawing it and you're like, "Oh, she's less like that. That's more like her friends."
Even if you're ending or you're having this discussion with the artist about like, oh, she doesn't really look like that, or she looks more like this, like it's kind of developing through the discussion, and the discussion is helping you realize that you like in your head you don't realize it, but you do know what the character is supposed to look like. So that even like just the discussion and like talking it through with an artist who knows visually and can help you go through it is very helpful.
Maybe I'm not really helpful in this part, but I think also for developing characters, some of them, the costume or their hair or their looks are really important. You might write a really descriptive description of what the character looks like when they're wearing this fancy dress or this fancy suits. But then an artist, when they draw it out, you look at it and like, oh, it looks like the color schemes looks off and it looks stupid. So you know where to change some stuff, I think. But in that case, I didn't really like. I'm not really a designer kind of person, and I think you have your costume for the superheroes really fleshed out already. So I didn't really have to help any of that. But I
Oh,
think
I would disagree with that. I would say that
really.
you helped a lot with me coming up with the character designs and what they look
Oh
like.
yeah, I think I did for the one or two characters. But yeah, I'm still not like I'm not really good with designing, so I'm never gonna be a
Yeah,
concept artist.
yeah, fair enough. But, there's artists out there who probably like that just as much as writers do. And even if you don't, because for my superhero novels, I think the superhero costume is actually really important.
Yeah, it is.
So normally you wouldn't go too in depth of like what a character is wearing or what their hair is like. Like you could talk about that, but it's not, you don't have to like
Like it
beat
really
it.
depends on your writing style, so
Yeah, but like generally you don't have to like beat it over the head. People don't necessarily want to read descriptions. They want you to read the story. But in a superhero novel, those things are more important than it would be in a regular novel. So it's important to know exactly what the costume looks like, and the readers will want you to describe it really well and to know what it looks like. It's an important aspect. Where I'm going with this in a regular novel that's not superhero related, even if you don't actually write down the description as detailed as what the drawing may be, I think it still helps to have that knowledge in your head when you're moving the characters around
yeah,
through the story.
it helps bring in more fan arts. Just like like if you have a really fake character that you don't even describe what it looks like or what he or she is wearing, then you're not gonna get any fan art from that.
Yeah, even if it doesn't make, you're gonna describe your character either way, but even if not every single detail you come up with or that's in your head makes it to the page, it still helps. Like, not every background detail about a character, like their birthday or their blood type, you
Oh
might know
yeah.
those things. And oftentimes, a lot of the really small details never make it to the page because they aren't as important, but it kind of helps in your head to have really fleshed out characters and to it helps to get inside your character's head and to be able to know what they would do in a situation. And it helps with characterization to be able to know your characters really well. Like I said, even if half these details don't actually ever make it to the page.
Do you actually plan your character that much? Do you write about their birth dates or blood type or their favorite colors or food?
I don't necessarily go into that much detail anymore. I used to. All over the internet, there's basically giant character lists that do exactly those things, like birthday and everything else, like favorite food.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
remember seeing that a lot online.
yeah, they're crazy.
A
And I
lot.
realized that I was spending so much time filling these out and not actually writing or like developing my character. So I decided not to spend so much time on
Yeah.
that stuff anymore, but I definitely have a bigger knowledge of my characters than will ever be written in the page.
Like feel like their favorite colors or favorite food, it doesn't really matter anyways. Unless
Yeah,
there's special meaning. For example, oh, maybe her favorite color is red because I don't know, her parents are superheroes and that's their costume color. It's red, so that's her favorite color. Then it makes sense. But other than that, if she's just like, oh, I like pink, but there's no reason, there's nothing about her, then it really doesn't matter. Because I'm not a writer, but to me, it's kind of still like when I read a story, it's kind of like a character should be kind of like a real person, but they're still not a real person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you only have so much time. You should devote what you write to
Yeah.
the story and
They should be
things that are important.
interesting. Like talk about interesting stuff. I don't want to know that she doesn't eat curry unless it's something that's really special. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
character and that character,
like
and I don't know.
obviously sometimes these smaller details will come up. It will be weird if you don't include them sometimes, but yeah, for the most part,
It
um,
depends on like what you're writing. But if I'm reading a
yeah.
story as a reader, I don't want to read 10 pages like continuously talking about describing about this palace. I don't care. And I don't care about having 10 pages long and saying that, "Oh, my name is whatever, whatever, and my favorite color is pink and I love curry." Like I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a shit. That's what
Yeah,
I was thinking.
exactly. So, that's about all the time that we have for now.
Yeah, it's a good place to stop and start with our new collaborations, I guess. We're
And
urging artists and writers to collab. Whether you're good or bad artists or
yeah,
writers, just collab. I'm not good, so. And if you have like any collaborations, you can actually comment down there, and I'm pretty sure Cheyenne's gonna take up the request if there's any, and I'm willing to draw your, I don't know, original characters or whatever, if there's
if
any.
you artists happen to have writer friends, and if you writer people happen to have artist friends, absolutely hit them up. It's super fun. Also, feel free to, I haven't seen it anywhere, so I think we created it, but if you're really interested and you've liked it and you have an artist or writer friend, feel free to use our challenge
Like
and
monster creation
make something with your artist or writer friend, and
and
we
post
would
it.
love to, yeah, we would love to see what you guys come up with.
Yeah, and if you have no friends like me, you could actually post if you're a writer, post it here, then I'll help you draw with it because I have a lot of free time.
Oh wow, that's quite a promise.
Yeah,
I guess
well,
you could hit me up too if you
yeah,
really
well,
wanted to.
if there's anyone that listened to this part and like they sent me anything, I think they deserve to get a drawing from me to help with it.
That's very true. Add some like incentive here.
Yeah, we should say like, oh, giveaway in the title, giveaway.
Until next time, kids.
Bye.
Bye.